Hello and welcome back to Green Money Momentum. I'm your host, Trevor, and today we're going to be talking all about Big Bear AI. And as we could see, the Big Bear got taken behind the woodshed and shot today. A very bloody day in Big Bear. The Q2 earnings was not very positive. Because of this, there was a massive sell-off. And so we're going to get all into their earnings report. The numbers for this quarter didn't look bad, but as they said in the earnings report, they are not defined by this quarter. There's a big long-term vision with Big Bear. So kind of some mixed feelings, I'm sure, from investors from what happened in this earnings call. So we're going to get into all of that. First, though, just going through technical analysis. It's not showing the red candlestick that we just saw, so I'm going to draw it out here with this white line. But as we could see with that drop off, we have fallen under the level of consolidation that we have previously been at. So we were sitting right at these levels between the $6 mark and $8.50. Today we have dropped $1 down to $5.08. So we have broken out of that pattern there. We are seeing what is basically considered a triple top in the Big Bear. And so some fear, uncertainty, and doubt around what we saw today. Myself, I am still remaining bullish on the Big Bear. Again, what they talked about in that call, I thought was pretty positive. But just first, going off the numbers that we saw today, Big Bear did miss the numbers set by Wall Street. So they came in at a revenue of just 32 million. Wall Street expected them to be at 40 million. So they greatly missed that expectation, and their earnings were down from Q1. So both factors there not looking the greatest. And then we could see that they absolutely missed the earnings per share expectations. But again, going back to the earnings call, Big Bear is actually looking pretty positive overall. And there was a pretty big emphasis here, and I think that is rightfully so. They have their strongest balance sheet in the company's history. And when we look at where they are sitting at in terms of cash to debt, they really are in their best position ever. So the blue represents their cash, the black represents their debt. And we could see that this last quarter and this last year, they have made great improvements around their cash while bringing down their debt. So this year, there has been a lot of emphasis on bringing down their debt. They have done that, and they have raised a lot of cash also. So this is absolutely massive, just because when we talk about a company's balance sheet, you always want to see a strong cash position and not a strong debt position. And it has been the opposite for the entire history of Big Bear. The debt superseded the cash, but now we can see that they have a very strong cash position. So Big Bear looking positive there. So that is a positive on the Big Bear. I wrote down some notes about this earnings call. So that was a positive. This is their first time ever that cash has exceeded their debt. With this, though, there was some dilution to get to this point. So they did talk of that dilution. They did release some shares around the price of $3.90 to raise some capital. But what is positive is we are still elevated from that level. So even with the big drop off that we saw today, Big Bear still is sitting at a $5 mark, so above where those shares were initially bought for the raising of that capital. And so that happened also. So that is a positive, but a negative with Big Bear for this quarter. Something that they did talk about quite a bit is it does look like their Army contract was revised down a little. So they may not be getting as much money as was initially projected in one of the contracts that they got earlier this year. But Kevin said that's all right, and they're just working with it. And their goal, really more than anything else, is to pick up more government contracts, which is what we have talked about the entire time I have covered Big Bear AI. So drops like today aren't absolutely not expected, because if we just talk about investments, always be aware of what you are investing in terms of whether it is a value opportunity or a growth opportunity. A growth stock is just a stock that continues to grow off of their strong fundamentals. fundamentals. They already have strong cash positions. They already have great customer acquisition. They already have a proven result. And so investors invest into growth with the expectations that the growth will continue. People compare Big Bear a lot to Palantir, but the difference is Palantir is already in that growth cycle with a proven business model, already earning big revenue, showing that their future revenue will get better. With Big Bear, it's more of a value opportunity. So we invest into Big Bear for what the future could be and for the turnaround story with Big Bear. That is why I started talking about this company last year in September or October, was just because of the growth opportunity, or because of the value opportunity here, because of the turnaround, how this company did gain these big government contracts, how they have been paying down their debt. And so this right here, to me, just confirms everything we talk about with Big Bear and how we have a forward outlook and how we are looking for more government contracts, because the CEO, Kevin, didn't let what happened with the Army bring them down. The company's not going to let that bring them down. Although it hurts their quarterly earnings, they have a long outlook on the company. And with the big, beautiful bill, this is something that they talked about a lot. With this big, beautiful bill, there's going to be a lot of government spending here, and a lot of that can go to Big Bear, and they are positioned perfectly for this opportunity. We know that Kevin does have ties back to Trump and his first time in office, and Big Bear has already gained their Army contract and others. They have big partnerships also, and on this earnings report, they are talking about this big, beautiful bill and how they are going to be in contention for many of these contracts that will be coming out. So they're just using this opportunity to better their AI technology and position themselves for the spending that will come with the big, beautiful bill. On this channel, we talk a lot about these different companies and these opportunities that are around the United States government and our president that is currently in office. And so Big Bear can greatly benefit from this administration. They did mention this quite a bit, and this to me was very positive, and this got me even more bullish on everything with Big Bear, because this is what we have really been talking about all year long. And although in the short term, yeah, it sucks. Yeah, I wanted to see their earnings come in good. I wanted to see a positive pump towards the upside. It didn't happen. Well, this just presents more opportunity if you want to buy into the dip on this great company. Now, this year, again, things could be a bit rocky. This was expected. If you go back to my first ever video with Big Bear, I talked about how bumpy the road could be with a small market cap stock, with a stock that has a lot of debt. But we were looking for that turnaround story, and I still think that that is happening. So again, they have had their biggest quarter ever when it comes to terms of cash. That is absolutely massive. But, we got to talk about both the positives and the negatives for this year. Guidance still does look a bit weak. Again, there was a repositioning in this Army contract, so this could hurt the quarters coming up in terms of revenue. But this company has done a lot this year. And also something else that they talked about was how they have entered into new markets, including international markets. We've talked about that with their big UAE deal, and then also with Heathrow UK hubs airport. And so all this is massive. Big Bear is international. And again, Big Bear has greatly strengthened their balance sheet. And that is really what we are looking for over the long term, is a company that is going to be healthy with profits, with revenue, and have low debt. That is where we could go from value to growth. And when that comes, when Big Bear eventually does pay down all their debt, we could see a big rip up. Again, in the short term, though, I am not too concerned. There's also been a very high short interest in the Big Bear, all the way up to 25%. So it's going to be interesting to see if we do see some short covering tomorrow or this week. So I'm not throwing out the possibility that we do see a short recovery rally back up into the big bear. And I do believe that we could return right back to the levels around $6, what was previously support. We'd get back to that as the resistance. And so myself, I am still invested into the big bear. I am invested for the long term. But if this is causing you any panic, just think about what your investing goals really are. And do know if you are investing into the big bear, it could be a bit of a rocky road to the double-digit mark. But I do believe that it will come. And Big Bear is talking about building long term. And so while Big Bear has dropped in price, personally, I still think that Big Bear is a good buying opportunity anytime it is under the double-digit range. Again, I am looking at this over the long term. I have a lot of leaps on Big Bear into the future. So myself, I am still excited. In the short term, of course, I wanted to see green like everybody else, but I would be curious to hear what everyone else's opinion is on this. If you got to listen into the earnings call or what you thought about this earnings, if you are remaining bullish on the big bear, or if you were becoming a bear on the big bear, please let me know in the comments section below. Also, please leave a like and please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. As always, I thank you guys for being here, and I will see you in the next video.